Okay. That you're installing an intake, an exhaust, or even some nice boosty boost. There's a limit to what the factory tune can actually do. But I don't have any mods on my car. Does that mean I don't need any? No. You see, manufacturers have to take in consideration some very strict guidelines when mass producing vehicles. You have to keep in mind the emission laws, the fuel economy, and also what kind of typical customers would buy their car. If your grandma is buying a brand new Mazda 3, odds are she probably doesn't want the throttle response dialed all the way up. So in this episode, we're going to be optimizing all the current power mods. We're going to upgrade the power output significantly, increase the torque, increase the throttle response, and we're going to raise the red line. I am finally getting a tune on the Mazda 3. Plus, I'll be doing 2 extra power mods to increase even more so the power output of the Mazda 3. The first thing was to actually find a tuner to tune the car. Since the Mazda 3 or Mazda Skyactiv platform is a pretty niche car, there's only a handful of people that actually tune these cars. So after doing some research and looking into some reviews and customer feedback, I ended up going with the Sauce Tune by Justin Freeman. So I'll leave his information down below in the description if you want to contact him to get a tune, or even if you just have some more questions for him. I'll also leave a link to his YouTube channel. Tons and tons of information there, especially if you're looking into the VT supercharger kit for the Skyactiv platform. He goes over a bunch of specific details and constantly revising and constantly upgrading and tweaking the platform. So super interesting, tons of information there. Everything's going to be there in the description below, so you can go check that out. So once I told Justin I wanted to move ahead with the tune, I received an invoice through PayPal, and once that was paid, he sent me a Patrick's cable through the mail. I think it took about a week and a half to get here. With the cable, that allows me to connect the computer to the car so that both communicate. On top of that, Justin got me to download the Mazda Edit software, and that's the software that allows him to tune the car. Mazda Edit is a very common software used in the Mazda world. It's been around with the Mazda Speed and other platforms too. To set that software up, there was a bit of back and forth, but that's totally normal. To be able to set up the software to the VIN number of the car, and also to get the proper software key. And finally, the car was all set up to do some data logging. All right, so doing the first logs, we're gonna start off with the easy stuff. Gonna do some second and third gear pull and kind of go from there. Before I even sent my first logs, I sent over my stock dump file. A few days later, I got my stock file and my first revision, which I uploaded right away. Once it gets past the cold start, the engine does feel smoother in a sense, especially with the rear motor mount. Usually I would feel a little bit more vibration. First impression, just coming out of my driveway, the throttle response is a lot more touchy. Like you press on the gas and like the car just wants to go basically. I'm about at 3,000 and kind of rolling into it. Like it just feels like the car wants to go a lot more than it did beforehand. Woo! So the car revs a lot higher. Revs all the way to 7, just a little bit past 7,000 RPM, so which is pretty cool. After driving it a little bit, car actually sounds different. The intake sounds like more throaty. Before I would hear a lot of the exhausts. Now it seems that like the induction noise is
almost all that I hear. The engine tone and the engine note is actually different than what it was beforehand.
One of the neat things about the Mazda Edit software is that you can remove check engine codes. With my car being catless since I did my makeshift headers, plus it also had a small evap leak, I asked to tune those codes out. To properly tune out the code, I did have to remove the O2 extender I previously installed. Not that it actually worked in the first place.
All right, so after sending my second set of data logs back, the tuner realized that there was a bit of detonation at the higher RPM. Nothing that I did notice in the car while I was driving. They recommended to get some GTR OEM spark plugs. So this is from the R35 Nissan GTR. This is a pretty common upgrade if you follow along the supercharged Skyactiv build. So this is the OEM parts. I'll leave the part number below in the description so you guys can take a look at that. So basically it's just a matter of installing the new spark plugs in the car. It's a little bit of a bummer since I did change the plugs not even 10,000 kilometers ago. But I mean, it is what it is. So let's upgrade to the GTR spark plugs because they are one step colder and see how the car feels.
With the upgraded spark plugs, I was able to remove the detonation and move forward with my second revision. I did want to mention that I did notice the car being more responsive after doing this mod. Another of my friends upgraded the plugs on his 2.5 Skyactiv and also noticed the difference in performance, and that's without being tuned. So after getting my second revision from the tuner, I actually was recommended to upgrade the fuel pump and maybe gain a little bit more low down torque with it. So they recommended the Fab9 low pressure fuel pump that is technically for the ND Miata, and supposedly it's just a bolt-on to the Mazda 3 platform. I just got the Fab9 fuel pump. It seems like it comes with whatever is supposed to come with a fuel pump. There's a few rubber seals that comes with it. There's a few clips and things. There's no instructions or anything that comes with the fuel pump. I've never installed a fuel pump, so I'll kind of figure out as we're going. The car is empty, the gas lead is on, so I'm assuming that's when you want to change the fuel pump.
Alright, so I removed the back seat and got access to the fuel pump area, and unfortunately it looks like I gotta drop the fuel tank to remove the fuel pump. For the third and fourth gen Mazda 3, the fuel pump is accessible from the top or from the back seat, but for the first and third gen Mazda 3, gotta drop the fuel tank. So let's get to it and drop the fuel tank. Alright, so I was able to finally get the stupid gas tank down. So I had to unbolt the both side of the mid pipe, kind of drop it out of place. I tried to squeeze in the gas tank, it wasn't coming out. So the gas tank is at the point where I can technically remove the fuel pump, but now for the Skyactiv, I guess, model, because from the video I've seen the MZR gens or fuel pump, it's just a plastic cap, kind of typical, that you just push over with like a screwdriver and it unlooses and then you can pull out the pump. For these ones, there's 8 little Phillips screws that hold the bracket holding the pump in the tank, and they're completely rusted out. So I can't even, not even one of them, I can put the screwdriver into them. So essentially I'm going to try going at it with a chisel and a hammer, and hopefully we can get them out that way. Oh, yes. I finally got the fuel pump out of the car. It took a little while to get the screws out, but they're finally all out. Fortunately, it's not like a high torque thing, it's super low torque. So using the hammer and the chisel, I was able to turn most of them. And even some, I was able to just take a set of pliers and just twist them slowly and get them out that way. So fortunately, none of them like broke into it, so I can put some new screws, which I actually got a new set of M4 screws. But at this point, we're basically just gonna take the pump apart and put the new low pressure fuel pump in the housing. Alright, so the fuel pump is disassembled. I'm basically at the point where I can install the new fuel pump. And also another thing that I got, since I'm right here, and as you can see, it's a little bit of a job to get to the fuel pump. I figured I'd change the fuel filter at the same time, because I mean the current one's pretty dirty, so it's definitely worth it. It's just a little thing, a little maintenance thing. That's worth it. I got this filter from Mazda and it was like 20 bucks. So I'll leave the part number in the description. The neat thing that about this fuel pump, when I was talking with the tuner, is that this is actually the same part number as the 2.5 turbo Skyactiv fuel pump. So that's why it's an upgrade for like the ND Miata or whatever. So I'm currently running the second revision of the tune on the car. Plus now I just installed the fuel pump, and I was also able to drive the car a little bit, get a feel for the car. So I drove about 100 kilometers with the car since I installed the fuel pump on it. I'm really surprised on how much of a difference just doing the fuel pump made. The power delivery is a lot stronger. So it's very interesting to see with the upgraded fuel pump how it actually affected the car. I'm really curious to see if someone were to upgrade the fuel pump on their car without doing any tune, how much of a difference that would make. Because that's an upgrade for both the 2-liter and the 2.5 Skyactiv. All right, so we're finally going for a drive with the, I'm not sure if it's the final tune or probably one of the last tune we're gonna get on the Mazda 3 before we can say that the tune is complete with the current mods. That's the hot sauce tune. In the meantime, I did want to show you guys, I just got another Mazda 3 and a bit of the cars that are going on. So if you check this out, I got the same Mazda 3 that I'm driving right now. Obviously there's a bit of a difference. This is stock, has 293,000 kilometers. Compared to this one, we're at 199, and I think it's seen some better days. You can see the scratch here and all that nice stuff, and a little bit of a, you know, mirror cap delete. Also, if we go underneath, you can see right here, the exhaust broke off as I was driving it back home. It's the first time that happens to me, that a car just, the exhaust breaks off completely. I thought that was a pretty funny thing that happened with the car. If we're looking on the inside, it is like the GSL, I think that's what the trim is called. It's got the leather interior, and yeah, there's a bit of wear and tear on the car, as you can see. I don't know if you can see with the, but honestly the inside is pretty rough. It's seen some better days, but yeah, gonna be doing a few things to this car because obviously it needs some work. I got it for $500, so super cheap. I'm hoping to be able to flip it for a few $1,000. It's still the Skyactiv, so it's worth a little bit of money, but there is quite a bit of imperfection with the car. And I'm also hoping I'm gonna be able to get the fog light housing and the GT type front grille, because this one's glossy black, and yeah, it'll just look better compared to my front grille. Also, if you check out this car right here, you might have seen one of my shorts with the Lexus IS300. But check this out. This is my buddy's Billy's car. It's got a 2J turbo into it. He boosted the car himself, so big shout out to him. And yeah, the car was running good, but now the transmission might have blown up because it's the factory 5-speed. If you know a little bit about these cars, the 5-speed is super weak. And yeah, so gotta check out this car. Let me know if you'd like to see a video about this car. The IS300 with the turbo and all that stuff. And yeah, we kind of dropped the transmission. He was saying he's not too sure if it's the actual transmission, or he looked into it and might be the clutch that's busted on it. So will be interesting to see that. Let me know if you guys want to see more of this car too. But yeah, for now, let's go back to the Mazda 3 and let's go see how the hot sauce tune feels and drives. So I just started up the car because it's very cold. We just got our first snowfall yesterday and we're not even in November, so yay Canada. All right, little launch. See how it feels. First gear. Oh yeah. Woo. Oh yeah. Okay, that feels nice. The thing too with the tunes, it does take a little bit for the ECU to adapt itself for the updated tune or whatever adjustment they do to the ECU. I felt the biggest result about after driving about 150 kilometers on the revised tune.
The reason for that is because when the ECU gets tuned or its parameters get changed, it also gets resetted and it needs to learn these new parameters for the first few hundred kilometers.
I'm still so shocked on how much the noise coming out of the engine is so much different with a tune. It just sounds completely crazy. The thing with this Skyactiv that's so nice is they're like so reliable. You can like beat on these engines and beat on them and just drive them as hard as you want. If you just do the basic maintenance, just do some regular oil change, the car drives like so nice. Plus it has like 200,000 kilometers. The other Skyactiv I just bought for $500, which it looks like it didn't have the best life ever. Driving it back, the engine still feels like super solid, and it still pulls at 293,000 kilometers. Like the 2-liter and the 2.5 Skyactiv that Mazda made, they're solid engine. I've seen some Mazda 3 for sale with the engine over 400,000 kilometers. Engine still running strong. So I finally got the final tune uploaded in the car. I say final tune because my actual final tune was, I gotta say, probably like 5 revisions ago. And I did want to mention that because I just did want to mention how much Justin's been putting some effort into these tunes, and it just shows how much he actually cares, because he could have just left it at the final tune and said, you know what, this is your final tune, this is what you get for. But even after the quote unquote final tune that he sent, he found some new ways and he's constantly adjusting his tuning, and he kept on sending me some revisions. So now I got what he claims to be pretty much the last one for at least a little while. So that's what I'm going to tell you guys, how the car feels with this final tune at this stage. All right. First gear. Okay. The car pulls really hard now. Yeah, I gotta say, like, every time I get a revision, the car just is like just that much more better, and like at this point, it just, obviously it's a completely different car. The amount of power coming out of the car is quite significant compared to what the stock 2-liter. I would say that from what I drive this car and how it feels right now and the amount of power it's putting down, comparing it to my 2014 Mazda 3 2.5, I would say the power output is pretty much the same. Maybe this car actually feels like it's a little bit more powerful than the 2.5 Skyactiv. Obviously, the 2.5 has just like that extra bit of torque at the low end to really get you going, but the power band with the tune right now, it's very linear. It just pulls all the way through the RPM, and it pulls really strong. I was driving the 2.5, I think it was like yesterday. I really wanted to get a feel for the car to really kind of compare it, to see how both engines feel, like a stock 2.5 versus like this 2-liter that's been tuned now. The stock 2.5 feels a lot more numb compared to this. This feels like primed and like ready to go at like any point. Like even at like 2,500 RPM, like it still feels like the car wants to go. The thing with the 2-liter that I do love, it just revs a lot more. It feels like the car just wants to rev out a lot more. Plus the amount of torque, not that this car doesn't make any torque, and that's one thing I do like about the Skyactiv engine. Even for a 2-liter, it is an engine that produces like a decent amount of torque, low RPM, and with the tune, that's even emphasized even more so. The car just feels so nice to drive, and it just feels like it has like just a lot more horsepower than the stock factory form, like a lot more, which is really impressive because this car still naturally aspirated. It's not like I did any like cams or like really high end like NA mods. Like, yeah, it has like intake, exhaust, basic stuff. The way it's running, like it's super smooth like at idle, but it's also like it just feels so strong like revving the car out. It doesn't feel like the engine's gonna blow up, or it doesn't feel like the engine is shaking, and it feels sketchy to rev out the engine like so high. That you can rev out the engine now, like I can bring up the revs all the way to 7,200 RPMs. It's like the factory is 6,500. I just find like that you can rev the car that high, it just makes it that much more fun. And especially that you see the needle go climbing way past that 65 and then going all the way past 7. You can definitely hear the variable valve timing kick in at like around 5,000, 5,500. You just feel it kick in, like it's almost like it's a VTEC. I gotta say, with pretty much all the mods that this car has right now, and the tune, the transmission, I'm really happy on the way this car is, and I feel like it's at a point where probably the next steps are going to be like some bigger mods. Not that, well, I guess like the CX-5 transmission was a pretty big mod to do. I don't know of anyone else that's done the CX-5 transmission before. And I would say like it's almost like in the Civic Si kind of feel, with the short transmission gear ratio and the higher output NA 2-liter. I don't think it makes quite the same amount of horsepower as like a stock SI has with like the K20, but I feel like that's kind of what the car feels like right now at this point, which is really nice because I think there's a lot of Civic SIs out there, and I don't think there's enough people modifying the Mazda 3 Skyactiv engine when it's like such a great engine to like it just feels so good, and it's a torquey engine too. Like it's a nice engine to just drive around and to drive every day. It doesn't feel like it's missing power, and then you have all your power at the high RPMs. You know, the power band is really flat. It's very linear. It's just a nice, fun. It's a peppy car. Like it has that low end torque, even for a 2-liter. It has enough torque, but it also has some nice top end power now that you can bring out all the way to like 7,200 RPM.
In the end, I couldn't be happier on how the tune turned out. The car feels completely different, it drives amazing, and it feels like a completely different car. I have to say that Justin has been amazing to deal with. He's been providing revision after revision, constantly upgrading and updating his tune. If you are in the Colorado area, Justin did partner up with PD Roo Motorsport to do some dyno tuning on the Skyactiv platform. For me, it was a little bit far at 27 hours, so I opted for the data logging, which still turned out quite amazing. So this is definitely a mod that I should have done quite a long time ago. I've been wanting to tune my cars since years basically, And I figured that I should just do all the mods I wanted and then get the car tuned for that. Realistically, I should have just got the car tuned, as it makes the most amount of difference as any other power mods. If I were to do it again, I would definitely get my car tuned almost right away as one of the first mods that I would do on the car. And then as I'm modding the car, just get revisions from there. I would go as far as saying that this is probably one of the top mods you can do to your Mazda Skyactiv, if not the #1 mod that you can do on it. The second best mod that makes the car so much more engaging to drive and makes a lot more torque to the wheels is to install a CX5 transmission on your Mazda Skyactiv. And you can go check out that episode right here where I did just that. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.